everyone, Ed here from Soloed Quest. Welcome back to the channel. If you're a regular viewer, if you're not, welcome to the channel. We do some solo board game content here on Soloed Quest, reviews, playthroughs, unboxings, all kind of stuff. So if that's any interest to you, please consider subscribing to the channel and stick around. Hope it's a fun ride for all of you. Now, we are going to talk about Undaunted Normandy today. I have just finished my second playthrough, so the game is still here on the table, and hopefully this new setup will help me do reviews a little bit better and make things a bit more clear to you, because I'll be able to show you components and talk a little bit about what happened maybe in the game as well, and relate that to the points that I enjoy about a game or the ones that I don't enjoy as much. So Undaunted Normandy, first of all, is a game that's, well, immediately interested me the day it came out. One, because of its cover. I think it's one of my favorite. I don't know why. It's not that it is a spectacular cover. Let me actually get it. But I don't know why. I don't know what it is with this cover, but I just love it. I absolutely adore this artwork here, and I adore the general look of the game. The look they've gone through here and the artwork style, it is so in taste with what I like. It's really entwined with what I like. For me, like the biggest plus was the first impression I got from the game and its looks when it was announced. I was like immediately, oh, okay, I don't have a war game. This is, I think it's the only war game I have. I believe so. So I didn't have a war game, so I've always kind of been interested in getting one. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this game. If it doesn't have solo, I'm sure someone will do a solo variant. If not, I will try to do one, because that was how enamored I got with it in a first impression. So yeah, the artwork overall, the style of the game, fantastic. And I do think war games have that, all of those tokens. It has that very particular aspect to them. This one looks very modern. I think the cards give it, again, a more approachable, maybe more popular look, easier for the general public to get into, because usually the board games, if you look them up, they are very rough around the edges. Tokens are just, like this sniper token, they just say something. They're very simple. Maybe they have a number or something. But in here, having this artwork here on the tokens, it helps. The artwork is good. So I think they went with a more approachable aspect to the game, which really does help it. And it definitely worked with me. So I'm not a war gamer, but when I saw this, I thought, yep, I gotta get this game. It looks super good, and I like this theme. I play a lot of video games around this theme, and I like it. I really don't have many military games. I have V Commandos, which I will probably do something with it here on the channel. So again, the modern artwork here on the game, the design is on that aspect of art is fantastic. Okay, something else that I really like here is the replayability and the modularity of the game. So you have all of these tiles right here. This is not, you don't have a fixed board here with Undaunted Normandy, which means that you can pretty much just do whatever you want, create whatever you want here with all of these tiles. So basically we have almost all of these here on the table. I think we're missing just one that's on the game box, but these are super great, and they do something here on this scenario actually that the previous ones don't do. So all of these tiles are double-sided. So you have 9B side and you have the 9A side. Okay, it actually changes the defense values here. It changes the artwork, so it's going to give you a different looking map. Okay. So besides that, what this scenario does that the others didn't was actually to take the tiles and use them upside down. So you can basically, I don't know how many configurations you can put this on, but yeah, if you used it like this, the rivers wouldn't actually make sense. But yeah, you can have them like this, you can have them like this, you can have them like this, like this. There's a lot of possibilities, and you can create a lot of different landscapes. So in terms of map, there's a huge variability that you can get out of these tiles. Then on the scenarios themselves, I mean, if you look at the scenario book, we have how many? So on this scenario book, we have 12 scenarios. So I've played, okay, so I've played half of the game already. And I had so many plays out of it. Because I play a side until I win, and then I play the other side. And that is great for replayability. Because sometimes the objectives aren't the same. Okay, so there's immediately a difference that you will notice there, okay, having different objectives. But then even if the objectives are the same, like in this scenario we played here, so both US and German have to get 5 control points. The way they do it is completely different. So the Germans, well, actually had a bit of an easier time just coming down here, but the US is super challenging, having to come here and having these, I just messed it up, but having these, all of these objectives in the middle and trying to see either getting these two or getting this one. So the US actually have a choice. The Germans have a choice as well. They could go up and control one of the US objectives. But again, there's a lot of difference here with controlling both sides. The units themselves are exactly the same. You won't see much of a difference when you're controlling either Germans or the US, okay? Not that I've noticed, at least. But yeah, I don't think there is. It's basically, you need to have be kind of on equal grounds. So it's basically going to come from the objective side of things and the placement of the units and where are your preferred control points. So yeah, there is going to be a lot you can take out of this box. It's not fairly inexpensive, but it's not an expensive game. It's on the cheaper side of board games, and it's probably the board game I've played the most this year because I just played games, back to back. They're some of them are pretty fast, like the second playthrough we did here on the channel. So you can just play them back to back. If you fail, you kind of will try to adapt and maybe try a different strategy. Sometimes on this one, I would always probably try this strategy right here with the Germans. So basically, if I play the Germans all over again, if I kept losing, maybe the replay. Well, if I kept losing, maybe this wasn't the obvious choice. So in that sense, probably there would be replayability as well. But I think, yeah, there's a lot of juice here that you can extract from this box. For what you pay for it, it is a fantastic deal in my opinion. Now, for the mechanics themselves, this is, if you've noticed, this is pretty much a deck building game. You have your supply here, a la Aeon's End, I guess, where you are taking a few cards, you're placing them, well, not a la Aeon's End. Well, you are building the deck while you play, so I don't really, that's the one that came up, but to my head. But yeah, you are taking your supply, building, improving on your deck here. You are shuffling your discard pile, so that's not at a la Aeon's End, and you are basically improving the deck here, and I really like that, the way you can control which units will come up more, because you might need the rifleman to come out a little bit more, or you might want a lot of machine gunners. I have to control points here, but if I could pin the US, and maybe that's what controlling the US, maybe that's what I should have done with the Germans, to pin their riflemen, because I would win. That would make me the winner, because when you have that objective to control X number of control points, if you pin the other side, you still win, because the other side won't be able to control points. That means they will never be able to win. So in that sense, it was something that you could do. Of course, you could get pinned yourself as well if they keep on hitting you after they don't have riflemen. So still, it's a good way to maybe, or an alternative way to actually play the game. But yeah, the deck building again comes into that that mechanic of the game. You can also maybe not have a lot of riflemen, for example, at the start. So let's say that I was playing German side, and they are just keep hitting my rifleman A non-stop, and I had like one rifleman A left in my supply. maybe I don't want this Rifleman A in my deck. And I could just leave it out. Let's say this was all that, okay? Just for comparison's sake, this was all that, this was all that, this was all I have, is that Rifleman A. If I don't have it in the deck, this token will eventually come out. That means that they can't get to this card. So maybe I can try to kill off their better attacking forces. So let's say I actually was able to remove their snipers and their machine gunners from the board, and then bring out my Rifleman A, then bolster him and get him here now that the bigger threats are out of the map. So that's something that you can definitely do. So again, that's another type of strategy that you can apply to the game. I've applied it once. It's going to take longer. The games probably you won't be able to play them back to back if you're just trying to go on an attrition war. But still, it is a viable strategy. So that's another thing that you can try to do. So again, with the deck building, there's quite a lot of strategy as well on what you are placing here. If you are trimming your deck, getting those Fogs of War out, or actually using your scouts for other stuff, helping your riflemen. Again, a lot of decisions here with the cards. I really like that they don't just do one thing. They actually have a lot of abilities, and that really builds up with the general deck building mechanic of the game. So again, this mechanic tied to this map, it is fantastic. I really, really love it. It is, again, I've been enjoying this game a lot this year. It is my most played game because of, again, games are short. You can play them back to back, which is, again, another positive. Really fast games probably get played more. The setup isn't too bad, honestly. The map is super fast to set up. It's mostly the decks, because you will have to look at the scenario book. Let me actually, well, I think I've showed this, but so the scenario book actually tells you exactly. So the Ds are going to the deck, and then the S's are what you put in the supply. So this is basically what takes longer while setting up the game, because this part right here, the map, super fast, honestly, super fast, no issues whatsoever. All right, so all in all, so far, as you can see, I pretty much really enjoyed the game. So let's just talk a little bit about the solo variant that Mike did here for the game. I think he did a fantastically smart AI. The AI is really, I mean, it mostly does the right thing, what it should do. Maybe on this scenario, it ended up not prioritizing my Rifleman B in possibly not the best way, or maybe I just did it wrong. I don't think I did, but it's possible, because usually the AI is really smart and has a lot of priority lists, and it really goes for what it should go. So this is probably the first game where I see it lose because of a bad decision, honestly. So it's really, really smart. Now, with that smartness, the price is a little bit of overhead. As you can see, it's not super easy to explain, although once you get it, like I said, as you practice more and more, since the games are quick, you can get a lot of games, you can get a lot of practice with this AI. But all in all, I think you can get the most information out of these cards, even though Mike has one playthrough here on his channel as well, which I will link in the description of this review, and it's going to help you, and I'll probably leave it in the description of the other playthrough videos as well, which will help you understand his choices and the mechanics of the AI and the choices the AI does. Okay. But it does take a while to get it. It took me quite a bit to understand the interaction between scout and rifleman, how the scout has to look for the closer rifleman. That took me a while, and the bolster was the one that I think people will have a bit more difficulty, even though once you get it, it's super simple. It's like the most simple stuff. So I think it's the harder one to explain, but it's the easier one to get it once you do, or to apply it. So it has a little bit less overhead. The problem with the scouts and the riflemen and having their decisions being done mid-game is mostly because of the priority of the control points, where there's you kind of have to do those maths. Look at this control point, and the rifleman is right here, so this is the distance, and then blah blah blah. Keeping track of their priority on these control points is a bit of a bummer, because the priority can change mid-game. So you kind of have to be aware of that and kind of be able to do those maths quickly on your head to adapt the AI's choices to the next favored control point. But again, that's the price of having a smart AI. If it didn't had this intelligence to it, maybe the game wasn't that fun and challenging, because the game is fun and challenging. The AI is really hard. Now, Mike has the variant. If you want to make it easier, just draw 3 cards. It's going to be pretty easy, probably. I haven't tried it. I think the 4 cards is spot on. Or you can just make it draw 5 cards, and that's like hell on the battlefield. I haven't tried that either, because I find it challenging enough. I like that I lose, a few times. Some maybe on this one, actually, since the German have the easier, a bit of an easier job. I don't know if it has. This is the first time I'm controlling Germans on this scenario. Maybe if I play it more, I wouldn't win that often. If I do, I could add that little bit of variant and make it 5 cards instead of 4, and that could balance stuff out. All right. So that would be my only negative here, is with the game. Again, tying a little bit with what I've said previously, is that I feel some scenarios are tipping a little bit into one of the sides. Now, I'm not sure if that's intended, because I think these are representing real battles that occurred. So maybe this is actually as intended, because that's the side that actually won, and the other side is going on a uphill battle. I'm not sure if that's intended, but yeah, I do get that feeling. And again, not knowing, I'm not sure if, even if it's intending, it should be applied. Honestly, probably not. But yeah, I think that's my only downside here, is that some of the scenarios I tried, one of the sides does have a bit of a harder time. But I get it. It's I don't know. War games do seem like a hard job to get that balance, done correctly. And again, this is against the AI. If I was a human going against another human, I would definitely be aware that he's coming here with his rifleman. So this guy would be, this rifleman would be shot to death while making his way down here. Maybe I won't bother so much with rifleman A. Okay, so yeah, this is basically, maybe it's tipping like this because it's against an AI. Now, I'm not sure what the next AI will do, but again, this one does the job perfectly. It's well, not perfectly, but it does it very, very nicely. It is a very well thought out AI. Again, only downside to it is the overhead to get all of those rules. All right, so that's basically it. I'm trying to get my review times a little bit shorter, so shorter reviews. I'm just going to talk about the most important bits of the game here. So overall, I really, really, really enjoyed this game. Would I give it my my seal of commendation to Undaunted Normandy? I wouldn't, even though this is my most played game and I love the game. I can't recommend this game to everyone. Giving that award is something that I wouldn't do in good conscience to this game, even though I love this game, and I'll definitely be picking up the expansions. And once I'm done with this, I'm getting Undaunted North Africa. But this is not for everyone. Getting that AI and going through that bit of overhead is not for everyone. So honestly, I just won't give it because of that. It is not yet a perfect game for me to, well, or near perfect for me to be able to give it the award. But it is very good. If you have it, download that solo variant. I'll leave it in the description as well. Get it, because it's going to get you much more mileage for your money here with Undaunted Normandy. It's a highly recommended download, and again, it is a game that I recommend. I wouldn't say highly, but I do recommend. I love it, but again, you might not. Okay, it's a game. It's mostly because of that. I see people not enjoying it as much as I did, so in that sense, I can't give it the distinction award. But again, I did very much enjoy it. fantastic game for the price. Again, its value is through the roof for what you pay and what you get out of it. Okay, so that is me. That is my review for Undaunted Normandy. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you so much for being on the channel. Again, like I said, if you enjoyed the content here and if this review was of value to you, please leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't. Your presence is very much appreciated. And again, go into that community tab. Let me know which games you would like to see featured here on the channel in the future. I appreciate your viewage and your vote. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll see you all in the next one. Till then, everyone, stay safe. Bye bye.